The story begins showing an event that happened months ago. Some girl is streaming herself baking a perfect sweetbread and says it smells amazing to her viewers. That is going crazy with comments in the chat. She shows how soft and bouncy the bread looks, and then ends the stream with the viewers expecting the next recipe. Happy with the outcome, she says it was a success. Her beautiful friend interrupts her, asking if she is ready, and continues saying that they are going to be late for the appointment and how she could forget that her friend was there. The protagonist quickly puts on some outdoor clothes while apologizing to her friend and asking if she is going to turn him down. Her friend assures her that it's going to be fine because he's from their school, and she needs to firmly reject him to avoid awkwardness, and adds, saying, "Who knows, maybe he'll turn out to be the perfect guy." The beautiful friend Cho-hee always gets a lot of confessions because she's pretty and people are all nice at the beginning, but some turn nasty after being rejected. And that's why the protagonist is going with her, to be her friend's bodyguard. Ae-jin is waiting in a park nearby and texts her friend to let her know that she'll be keeping an eye out, so just call her if anything seems off. She is a little bit relieved that the guy is from their school, but she will still stay alert and keep watch for her friend. Cho-hee texts back, thanking and assuring Ah-jin that she will wrap things up quickly and head out. Ah-jin just replies with a good luck text. While she is waiting outside, she notices that it's really cold today and searches for a hand warmer when she is suddenly called by a stranger. A tall man starts to speak with her, asking if he could ask for directions and where he should go to get to the cultural sports center. She quickly replies, looking at her phone to get the right directions, and tells him to take the bus rather than the subway. He tells her not to rush and says they are actually filming a broadcast there, but she interrupts him, saying the bus number to get there. Suddenly, he puts his hand on her shoulder and says that up close, she's quite pretty. She looks really scared while he asks if she is interested in being an extra for his broadcast and asks her to come with him to do a camera test. He keeps holding her and says that she can meet celebrities at the filming location and asks again if she wants to come. From the sudden rudeness, she freezes up and can barely say a word to reject him. She then realizes that she's very scared of him and can't speak or run. Luckily, another man grabs the tall guy's wrist. Unable to break free, the tall man asks who that guy is. Ah-jin is relieved to be helped, but it looks like she recognizes him, and he asks her if she is okay. The tall man gets angry and starts yelling, asking how dare that little brat interfere and telling him to let go. The other man quickly twists the man's arm and drops him to the ground, where he screams from the impact. The police soon shows up and drags the tall man away as he keeps screaming that he's not a molester. Ae-jin, overwhelmed by everything, starts crying loudly, saying that she would never fall for the camera test trick. The man interrupts her, saying that she should use her feet if she can't use her hands. She then realizes that he is Park Jun-woo, her classmate, since he is the top student even if she doesn't know many people of the school, yet she does know him. While still crying, she thanks him for helping and says she thought she was going to die of fear, and wonders why he is here. He smiles and responds that it's none of her business, but now that he saved her, she can do him a favor. Of course she agrees because she doesn't like to owe people. He laughs, and for the favor, she could lend him her power bank. Shocked by what he asked, she hesitates to give him her most prized possession. He explains that he was watching a basketball game and his battery died at the most crucial moment. She tries her best to refuse, saying she is going home soon and can't just lend it to him. Her friend notices the two outside, while Junwoo keeps insisting that if she doesn't like to owe people, she should lend it to him. Inside the cafe, the guy with her friend asks for an answer to his confession, but her friend keeps staring at the two outside. She stands up and tells him that it's not a good time to talk about that, and he should give her some time to think. Getting her things and leaving, she says that something urgent came up and she will see him at school. Outside, Ah-jin keeps asking how much more time he will need to use her power bank, and he tells her to wait because he hasn't even plugged it in yet. Cho-hee approaches the two outside and grabs Ah-jin, saying, "Let's go home." Jungmin keeps staring at both, not understanding what's going on, and Cho-hee smiles back at him, thinking that maybe he's friends with the guy who likes her and that he will be useful. The two left, and she kept dragging Ah-jin around without saying anything. So the protagonist asks if something happened, why she's in such a hurry, and that her power bank stayed behind. The friend smiles and says it's nothing. Her mother keeps calling her to go home quickly. That's why she's rushing. Ah-jin hugs her and asks how things went, and she says she'll tell her on the way home. The next morning, after saying goodbye, each goes to their class and promises to meet at lunch. While walking to her own class, she realizes that she couldn't sleep well because she's worried about her power bank, and maybe she should have kept it at home as a family heirloom. Some girls are staring out the class window, saying that he's handsome and that's why they came to this school. Ah-jin goes inside the classroom while staring at Junwoo's fan club and thinking that maybe all this attention is tiring, but he doesn't seem to care. She approaches him saying, "Excuse me, and asks in a low voice if he remembers her and if he has the power bank with him. He stares at her and stands up, just to say that he actually left the power bank at home, but he will buy a better one for her. She freaks out, saying that it's not necessary, that the old one is precious and he should bring it tomorrow. Staring at him, she questions herself. Maybe he didn't realize that it was broken and actually not working. He starts to answer her with all right, but gets interrupted by the teacher entering the classroom and asks everyone to take their seats because the bell already rang. After class ends, it's lunchtime. The two friends are eating and Chohee asks, "Did Park Jun-woo say he'd bring it tomorrow?" Ajin replies that she made sure he knows he needs to bring it tomorrow. Her friend proposes that maybe she should meet with him after school today and get the battery for her. She gets excited and asks if it will be too troublesome for her friend, but Chohee says it's nothing, and she's glad to help, while sneering. After school is over, it starts raining. On the bus, some girls are glad they have an umbrella because the rain started so suddenly. Junwoo presses the button for the bus to stop at the next stop. Chohee is sitting on the same bus and thinking that she always wanted to get closer to Junwoo and never thought Ajin would help make it happen. Staring at his back, she thinks about what she should do to make things go a bit faster. Her plan is to hide her umbrella in her bag and get off at the same stop. The bus stops. Junwoo opens his umbrella and gets off the bus. She starts running right after him and calls out his name. Chohee leans closer to him and introduces herself as Ajin's friend. While acting cute, she says that Ajin sent her to get the power bank back. He looks surprised and says that he was going to give it to her at school tomorrow. Keeping up her act, she says that Ajin wanted her to get it quickly since it's something important. Junwoo gives in and invites her to follow him. She tries her best to keep up with his pace. After some time walking, she asks if his house is still far, because they've already walked quite a bit. He stops and says that she should wait in front. That's when she notices that they walked that whole way beside a long wall, and surprised, asks if his house stretches from where they started walking all the way to where they are now. He just confirms it. Smiling about it, she realizes that he's rich, top student, handsome. He would be the perfect boyfriend for her. Acting cute again, she says that she got rained on along the way and is really cold. Maybe she could dry off inside for a bit. She tries her best to look pitiful so he won't refuse, and says that she's cold and regrets not bringing her umbrella today. He just gives his umbrella to her and says he'll be right back and she can use it. After that, he just goes inside and she stays frozen in place. Pissed about the situation, she just stands there trying to understand how he dares to refuse her, but she accepts it and thinks that if he were too easy, it wouldn't be fun. It's been a while since she felt competitive. The next day at the convenience store, Ajin is hungry because she overslept and couldn't have breakfast. So she's going to buy something to last until lunchtime. She chose a few things, and the total was less than $5. But the cashier says that her card does not have funds. Meanwhile, the line is increasing. Shocked about using all her allowance this month, she asks the cashier to just charge the banana milk. He says that it's still insufficient and asks if she has another card. People in line start complaining about the long wait, and she awkwardly just asks to cancel everything. But someone says from behind her to pay with his card. She looks surprised to see Junwoo there, and he pays for her stuff. They walk to school together, but it seems the mood is just awkward. She breaks the ice by thanking him and says that she will pay him back tomorrow. He tells her not to worry because the issue about the power bank is still unresolved. She then realizes that he's not that cold and indifferent, seeing that he's been worried about returning the power bank all this time. Joking about the situation, he says that he thought he'd be hearing her stomach growling all day if he didn't buy her the snack. Chohee is watching them from afar and doesn't understand why they are together and acting friendly. Right after going inside the classroom, Ajin questions Junwoo if he has her power bank, and he says that her friend got it yesterday. She looks happy that Chohee already has it and she'll get it later, while Chohee keeps trying to figure out what is going on between those two. After class, Ajin and Chohee are going upstairs when Chohee says that she doesn't have the power bank because Junwoo threw it away. The protagonist looks confused because he said that her friend got it yesterday. Chohee bluntly asks if Ajin believes Junwoo over her, and Ajin, frustrated, says it's not that. She just never thought he was like that. Why would he lie? While she's sad about the power bank, Chohee consoles her, and she remembers when her dad made the same gesture, giving her the power bank for her birthday. Chohee says, "I know that portable charger was so precious to you." Now, back in her room, she thinks, why is she so hung up on such a cheap portable charger that doesn't even charge well? That was when she told the MC not to get close to Park Junwoo. The next day, Ajin gets ready to confront Junwoo, thinking about how she's going to do that since he doesn't seem very interested. Meanwhile, Chohee can't stand listening to the protagonist talk about the portable charger anymore. She questions Ajin about why she cares so much about something from someone she barely knows, and reminds her that it didn't even work properly, and that she'll probably never see the person who gave it to her again. The protagonist argues back, saying that Chohee knows how important it is to her. Uninterested, her friend changes the subject, asking if Ajin could lend her a blanket because she forgot hers. Ajin then enters the room to get the blanket, but she comes across several people gathered in front of her desk. She approaches and asks what's going on. The girls ask her if it's her birthday. After all, someone left her a gift. Not understanding anything, Ajin opens the box because today is not her birthday. She is amazed because inside the box there's a pink portable charger just like her old one, with her name engraved on it. She wonders who could have left it on her desk. Could it have been Cho-hee trying to give her a gift after realizing she was upset? She questions herself, but she realizes that's not possible because the two came to school together. The girls in class comment on how pretty the gift is and wonder if maybe there's a letter indicating who sent it. At that moment, Junwoo enters the classroom asking Cho-hee not to block the way. When she realizes it's him, she quickly greets him in a cute way but is completely ignored. She realizes that Junwoo is probably the only person in the whole school who would ignore her, and believes it's because he only cares about studying, but that's better than being a womanizer. The murmuring continues around Ajin, with people asking if maybe she has a secret crush. Ajin says no, that it has nothing to do with that, but she's also curious to know who it is. While Junwoo at his desk watches every word and move Ajin makes attentively, Cho-hee notices everything. She starts to get suspicious, but she doesn't believe he could possibly like Ajin. To interrupt the situation, she brings up the blanket to the protagonist. Ajin apologizes and hands her the blanket, asking to meet up at lunchtime. Before leaving, Cho-hee takes another glance at Junwoo to see if he's looking, but he's simply studying. The teacher calls everyone and says that today will be a first aid training class on how to save lives. Everyone gathers at the court and the protagonist starts wondering who the person who gave her the charger could be. Maybe it's Junwoo. Even with Cho-hee saying that Junwoo threw it away and him saying he returned it, Ajin still questions whether it's really possible he was the one who gave her the new charger, but she still can't be sure. So, what happened to the old charger after all? The teacher starts the class by demonstrating how to perform chest compressions, and with great effort, he asks if everyone understood. After all, it's quite exhausting, and he asks them to pair up to practice. Ajin immediately calls a girl next to her, but the teacher says it has to be a boy-girl pair because the boys might end up breaking the dummy if they go alone. Ajin gets nervous because she doesn't want to be paired with Junwoo, but the teacher notices her hesitation and says she can partner with Junwoo since they're close to each other. Nervous about the situation, this was definitely not what she wanted. They begin the training and she tries to stay a bit farther away. While Junwoo practices on the dummy, the teacher praises the way he's doing it and asks why Ajin isn't participating. He invites her to give it a try too. Nervously, she starts performing the compressions on the dummy. Noticing how little effort Ajin is putting into it, Junwoo jokes, saying the dummy is already dead. Embarrassed, she says it's not, but he keeps saying that if the dummy were a real person, they'd be dead by now. She defends herself saying she was just scared of pressing too hard and hurting someone. Junwoo explains that it's normal and that sometimes even ribs break during chest compressions, which shocks her about how dangerous it is. He explains that it's better to break a few ribs than to let someone die, so they continue practicing. The teacher is happy to see the two interacting and is called by another teacher at the door. Since it's about to rain, the teacher decided to ask to share the court with the other class. He agrees. After all, for today's training, they'll only need part of the court. Of course, Cho-hee is one of the girls arriving with the new class and notices Ajin and Junwoo training together. Following the instructions, the protagonist presses the dummy's chest harder and gets nervous with the sensation and the sound it made, while Junwoo laughs at her reaction. He says that's not how it's done and that he'll teach her. At that moment, he grabs her hand and pulls it over the dummy, but since she wasn't expecting it, she loses balance and falls right on top of him, which almost leads to the classic accidental fall and kiss scene. The teacher watching everything tells them to practice chest compressions, not flirt. The whole class starts laughing, but Cho-hee is clearly irritated by the situation, especially because she had warned Ajin not to get close to him. Later in class, Ajin is trying to understand why Cho-hee doesn't seem okay. But the villain only says that her stomach hasn't felt good since last night, and that it only got worse after the physical activity. Ajin offers to go with her to the infirmary to take some medicine and rest, but Cho-hee refuses and says she'll feel better after taking a nap, since lunch break is almost over, so they should go eat. However, in truth, what Cho-hee is thinking is that she can't even stand to look at Ajin's face. Unable to bear the situation any longer, she asks if Ajin can go alone to get the food and pretend she's with her, because, after all, she doesn't want her friend to go without eating. Ajin is touched by her friend's gesture and says she'll go alone and tells her not to worry and to take her medicine. But in reality, the fake Cho-hee is thinking about how to separate Ajin and Junwoo, hoping that the charger wasn't a gift from him. In the cafeteria, Ajin feels a bit uncomfortable eating alone because she finds it a little weird, but she is soon interrupted by Junwoo and his friend, who ask why she's alone and where her friend is. Junwoo just pulls out a chair next to her and sits down. She's shocked that they're going to sit with her, and Junwoo simply gives her his sausages to eat. His friend gets annoyed because, after all, the sausages are the best part of that lunch, and he wanted them. Ajin keeps thinking he's doing all this because he feels bad for throwing away her charger. Trying to break the awkward mood, Junwoo jokes that she needs to eat to get stronger, since she couldn't even hold herself up and ended up falling on top of him during the class. She gets super embarrassed and says that actually, she only fell because he pulled her out of nowhere. The friend starts to get suspicious because Junwoo normally doesn't talk to girls, much less give them his food. Ajin continues eating her lunch, but the whole time she's thinking about how she's going to bring up the new charger. But she's happy that at least they sat with her. She doesn't have to eat alone. When she realizes she was grateful for that, she gets irritated and tries to fool herself into thinking she was totally fine before and didn't need anyone. The friend gets up to get more food. Meanwhile, Ajin continues her plan on how to talk about the charger, and Junwoo doesn't understand why she's eating nonstop. The next morning, Ajin leaves the house late and is about to miss the bus. But luckily, she makes it just before the bus departs. As expected, the bus is full and there's no seat for her. She spots Junwoo on the bus and feels super embarrassed remembering how she fell on top of him and they almost kissed. And to make it worse, he even made a joke about it during lunch. So she decides to ignore him completely and pretend she didn't see or hear him. The driver receives a notification saying there was an accident up ahead, so probably more passengers will get on at the next stop. The passengers start moving to the back of the bus to avoid overcrowding. Ajin doesn't move much because, after all, she doesn't want to look at Junwoo's face. But the driver scolds her and tells her to move farther to the back. Junwoo, who saw everything, starts chuckling at her, and she gets even more embarrassed because he's laughing at her for being scolded. She starts moving to the back of the bus, and Junwoo tells her to stay around there because there's space. After all that humiliation, she decides to accept and quietly stay there. He wonders if he should tell her to sit in his seat, but before he can do anything, the driver takes a very sharp turn, where all the passengers almost fall. And of course, our protagonist ends up falling right into Junwoo's lap. The situation is so awkward that she panics and quickly gets up, hitting Junwoo's chin with her head. They both feel the impact, and she apologizes for falling on his thighs. He smells a sweet and pleasant scent coming from her and gets embarrassed, saying, "It's okay, it happens." Finally, they arrive at the school stop and all the passengers begin to get off. They walk to school with some distance between them, and Ajin thinks that now is the perfect moment to talk about the portable charger. She asks him if the gift from yesterday was from him. She couldn't think of anyone else who could have done it, but thanks him a lot for the gift. She thought it was really pretty. He's just happy that she liked it. And for the first time, our protagonist sees Junwoo smiling. He says he bought a new portable charger for her because, after all, hers was broken, and he felt responsible for that happening. Ajin tries to explain that the charger was basically on its last legs, but she's still confused by that statement Chohee made saying he had thrown her charger away because he doesn't seem like someone who would do that. But she decides to let it go and thanks him again, saying she's going to use the charger a lot. And of course, while this sentimental moment is happening between the two protagonists, Chohee is watching everything from across the street and getting more and more jealous and irritated by the atmosphere between them, since for her, Junwoo should be dating her, not Ajin. She quickly sends a message to that first guy who confessed to her, asking to meet up, and he gets super excited thinking she's finally giving him a chance. She asks him to bring a friend, saying her friend is super into his friend, setting up the perfect plan to win over Junwoo. On the day of the meetup, Junwoo is waiting in front of the cinema for his friend to arrive and sends a message asking if he's already on the way. He's surprised by a female voice calling his name. It's Chohee. She brought coffee and soda and offers them to him. He's confused about why she's there and even offering him a drink, and she explains that she brought the drinks because, after all, they're going to watch a movie together. He replies saying he's not watching any movie with her and that his movie is about to start, so she should leave, while he calls his friend to find out what's going on. Jungmin apologizes and says that this is all happening because he wants to go out with Chohee, and for that to happen, he has to watch a movie with her friend who likes him. But Jungmin decided that instead of them all watching the movie together, it would be better if he watched it only with Chohee and Junwoo with her friend. Confused by the whole situation, Junwoo replies that his friend is mistaken because Chohee is there, and before he can finish speaking, Chohee grabs his phone and hangs up. She confesses what she's doing and simply hides his phone, saying that she likes him. He becomes even more confused, and she admits that she lied to Jungmin, saying she wanted to watch a movie just with Junwoo. She also confesses that the time she said she went to get Ajin's portable charger, she was lying too, just so she could talk to him, because after all, she likes him. He finally realizes that all of this was Chohee's setup from the beginning, and before he can say anything, she asks what he thinks of her and says she wants him to get to know her better. Ignoring her, he asks for his phone back, but she refuses to return it and says that if it's because of Jungmin, she'll make a point of rejecting him, and asks Junwoo to just answer what he feels for her. Faced with the situation, he remains silent while she is sure that he will just accept her and reciprocate her feelings. But he finally breaks the silence and says that he doesn't like her. Shocked by the answer, she can't understand how he managed to reject her. She had never been rejected before and doesn't know what to say in this situation. Of course, our villain resorts to emotional manipulation and starts crying, asking him how he can reject her without even thinking for a minute. He is sure about his decision, and there is no need to think about it, and asks for his phone back. Crying and shocked by his answer, she tries her best to convince him to think some more about her and his feelings. Fed up with the situation, he pushes her hand away, tells her not to touch him, and since she doesn't want to give the phone back, she can keep it, and leaves. Abandoned in front of the cinema, she's furious about being humiliated like that, but she's sure she won't let this slide and calls out to him, telling him to take the phone. He turns around, trying to put an end to the situation, and says he doesn't like her, and that, whether it's good or bad, he's not interested in her. The only thing he wants right now is for her to reject Jungmin and apologize to him. At that moment, she drops the drinks on the ground, and it looks like she really lost. But obviously, our main villain wasn't going to let it go so easily, so she looks at the spilled coffee and screams, pretending she got burned. Obviously, our protagonist would help her, so he goes to the pharmacy and buys bandages to treat her fake burn. She gets super happy that he's at least giving her a little attention because of that fake burn, and for the first time, she feels like she's really falling for someone. And while he's there, focused on her hand, she says her heart is racing because he's holding her hand. He quickly gets up, lets go of her hand, and says he's leaving. And the deluded girl believes he's just embarrassed before he leaves. She returns his phone and apologizes for her behavior. He just turns his back and walks away, while she stays there all love-struck, really thinking he left because he was shy. Poor girl. So deluded. Later, at Chohee's house, Ajin arrives completely desperate, worried about her friend's injury, and Chohee just asks her to speak more quietly because she has a terrible headache. Ajin notices that the bandages on Chohee's hand are very poorly done and asks to take a look. However, Chohee remembers the moment when Junwoo did those bandages and quickly pulls her hand away. Our protagonist thinks she's just in a lot of pain, but she covers it up by saying she's just scared of someone touching her burned hand and realizes she has to be more careful not to reveal her true feelings. She quickly changes the subject and asks what that delicious smell is coming from what Ajin brought. It's a little bun that Ajin herself made as soon as she found out that Chohee was injured and brought it for her to eat. Her friend is happy because she loves Ajin's buns and tells her friend to go to her room to watch Netflix and eat. Of course, she was going to pretend to be sick just to make Ajin do everything, and that's exactly what she does. She says her hand is hurt and asks Ajin to set the table so they can eat. While setting the table, our protagonist notices that the trash can is in the way and decides to move it. But when she looks inside the trash, she sees something that looks like a pink portable charger. As soon as she picks up the charger, she sees her name written on it and realizes that this was her old charger. Not fully understanding what she's seeing, she asks Chohee why her portable charger is in the trash. Chohee was admiring her bandages from Junwoo and forgot that she hadn't taken out the trash. The evidence was still there. Obviously, the protagonist keeps questioning and asks if it wasn't Junwoo who threw it away. Why would it be at Chohee's house? With no idea what to say, Chohee just stares at Ajin while trying to come up with a solution to get out of this. And then she decides to say that, actually, she picked it up after Junwoo threw it in the trash. She said she was passing by his house and noticed in his trash bin something pink that looked like a portable charger. Since she thought it was really heartless of him, she decided to take the charger from the trash for her friend. But the lie doesn't last long because Ajin knows that Chohee doesn't like touching dirty things. She keeps trying to say she only did it because it was something important to her friend. But even though it usually seems like Ajin easily falls for Chohee's lies, this time it's not going so easily. She insists, saying she did it thinking about her friend even though it's something she hates doing, knowing how important it was to Ajin, and just hadn't returned it earlier because she couldn't find where she had put it, and claims that she is feeling extremely upset for being questioned like this by her friend. Our naive protagonist approaches Chohee and gives her a hug. That's right. She fell for the lies and thanked her friend for being so amazing, doing something she doesn't like just for the sake of her best friend. So they make up and life goes on. The next day, the teacher starts class by informing the students that they'll have to do the assignment in pairs, and to avoid any awkwardness, the teachers themselves made the pairs. They didn't like the idea much, but the teacher tells them to check the pairs first before complaining. Everyone rushes to the paper to see who's going to be Junwoo's partner, and clearly it's our protagonist, Ajin. People say how lucky she is to be paired with someone so smart. The girls in class start feeling super jealous of Ajin because they also wanted to be with Junwoo. But the protagonist can only think about how embarrassed she still is to be near Junwoo after everything that happened. She approaches him trying to start a conversation and asks when they should begin the assignment. But instead, he takes the initiative and goes on saying they need to schedule some time since the school schedule is tight this semester. So they decided to meet on Saturday. Fast forwarding to Saturday, it's a beautiful day with lots of spring flowers, and Ajin wonders if she should invite Cho-hee to hang out after the assignment. Ajin arrives a little early at the cafe and grabs a spot. The place is quite crowded. She starts organizing things on the table before Junwoo arrives and ends up bumping into her cup, which nearly falls. She manages to catch it at the last second but makes a big mess. Trying to balance the cup in one hand and her laptop in the other, she feels like she won't be able to hold on to both and will end up dropping the cup on the floor. And it's right at that moment that Junwoo arrives and catches the cup before it falls. She's surprised but also embarrassed that he arrived at that exact moment. He tells her to go wash her hands and that he'll ask someone to come clean up. Embarrassed, she refuses, because she should be the one cleaning her own mess. But he insists and is already heading toward the counter, telling her to just go wash her hands. While she's washing her hands, she receives a message from Cho-hee saying she won't be able to meet her today because she's doing a modeling job. Ajin is impressed by how amazing her friend is and gets excited to also do her best. When she returns to the table, everything is already clean and organized, and he brings her another drink, which appears to be a banana smoothie. She thanks him, and he's surprised that every time he sees her, she's drinking some kind of banana drink. She says it's because she really likes bananas. And meanwhile, he starts sitting next to her, and she wonders why he's sitting beside her instead of in front. He says he's going to stay there to keep an eye on her, after all, so she doesn't do anything clumsy again. She gets embarrassed but says that even though she might not be that great at studying, she always helps in group work, exactly so she won't be a burden. Amused by her response, he tells her to open the laptop and is impressed that she remembered to bring it. Sometimes it seems like he just came to annoy her, but she's still grateful that he helped her. Meanwhile, Cho-hee finishes her modeling job, thanks the team, and starts heading out. She decides she doesn't want to go home because after all, it's still early and she has nothing to do there. She wonders who she should invite to do something and sees several messages from Jongmin. Since she stood him up by saying she was sick just to avoid going to the movies, she considers whether she should apologize and tell the truth, and then sends a message saying she likes someone else and doesn't want him to message her anymore. Just like that. Pretty cruel. With nothing else to do, she decides to go to the cafe where Ajin said she'd be doing her project. And that's when the problem begins. She arrives at the cafe and ends up seeing Ajin with a guy whose back is turned, and she didn't know the assignment would be with a guy from their class. Before approaching them, she makes a point to check her appearance to make sure she looks pretty. Meanwhile, Ajin is impressed that Junwoo is doing the entire assignment in English without needing to use a translator, and he's doing it quickly and easily. Until she notices that his phone is ringing. It's Jongmin. He answers and the poor guy is crying, saying he just got rejected and he really needs a friend right now. Junwoo seems annoyed because he knows Cho-hee probably wasn't very kind when she rejected his friend. He hangs up and tells Ajin that something happened and he has to go. Most of the assignment is already done and she just needs to do the design. She understands and tells him to go quickly and not to worry, that she'll do the rest properly. Excited because he worked so hard, she wants to do the same. Cho-hee is still there, putting on her lip gloss in the mirror when she sees Junwoo leaving, talking on the phone saying he's going to meet Youngmin at another friend's house. That's when she realizes the guy doing the project with Ajin was Junwoo. She decides to sit behind Ajin without saying anything until the protagonist finishes the work and decides to go to the bathroom. At that moment, she takes the opportunity to mess with Ajin's computer and ruin the whole project. Because if the files mysteriously disappear, Junwoo won't get a good grades and will probably be mad at Ajin. That's what she thinks. However, things aren't that easy because Ajin's computer has a password. She tries Ajin's birthday, but apparently that's not it. After trying a few more numbers she thought were likely, she seems to doubt it, but tries anyway and manages to unlock the computer. Turns out the password was Cho-hee's birthday. A bit moved to realize her friend really likes her, she decides not to delete everything and instead leaves only the first and last page. She sets it all up so that when Ajin returns, she'll just send the email without checking anything, and gets excited thinking about what Ajin's reaction will be tomorrow. On the day the project is due, the teacher ends up emphasizing that she can't understand the students who didn't submit their assignments, especially since she made it clear that this would affect their grade. She starts calling out the names of the groups who didn't submit their work. Ajin and Junwoo are surprised to be on that list. Everyone in the class starts commenting because it's very strange. Junwoo has great grades in English, and the fact that he didn't submit the assignment will probably hurt his grade a lot. The students start speculating. Maybe the problem with the group was Ajin. Ajin panics and says she did send it and asks the teacher to check her email again. The teacher confirms that they really did send it, but there was some kind of problem with the file and asks if she confirmed before sending. As soon as she opens the assignment to check, she realizes that only the first and last page are there. That's when she's shocked to see that the entire part Junwoo worked on is missing. Everyone starts saying they must have focused so much on the design that they forgot to actually do the project. Ajin starts getting worried because she ended up screwing over Junwoo with this. She wonders what happened. After all, she checked everything and sent it without any problem. Embarrassed, she asks the teacher if it's possible to get a little more time so she can resend the assignment. Junwoo finally speaks up and apologizes to the teacher, saying it seems there was an error and that he resent the assignment. Ajin is surprised because even she didn't know he had those files. The teacher kind of accepts the situation, but then she asks them to do a presentation of the assignment, to be fair to the other students who submitted it on time. Unlike them, Ajin gets super nervous because she wasn't prepared to do that. Junwoo walks to the front of the class and tells her not to worry and to just handle changing the slides. She feels worried, even though she knows he's going to do well. She realizes all of this is happening because of her. As soon as he starts the presentation in English, everyone is impressed by his perfect English. And the teacher is very pleased because she knew he was going to do well. Even Ajin is impressed because she knew he was good, but not that good. Then the lunch bell rings, and everyone runs to the cafeteria to get their food. Ajin calls out to Junwoo before he leaves. She says she was really impressed by how easily he spoke, even without being prepared for it, especially in front of all their classmates. And now she understands why everyone was jealous that she was in his group. He really is amazing. Before he can say anything, she adds that she's really sorry about the file situation. She checked it before sending and doesn't know what happened, and insists on returning the favor. It seems like no one wants to let Junwoo speak because just as he starts saying it's okay, that she doesn't need to worry about it, Jongmin shows up, interrupting, calling him to go buy lunch. They leave the classroom, leaving Ajin behind. On top of being emotional about everything that happened, she knows Junwoo told her not to worry, but she insists on finding a way to repay him. Meanwhile, our lovely villain is looking for Ajin during lunch to see how disappointed she must be for not turning in the assignment, since she assumes Junwoo must have gotten mad at her, so she must be feeling even worse. She approaches and asks how things are going for her friend, but to her surprise, Ajin actually seems way too cheerful. The protagonist explains everything that happened, how amazing Junwoo was in saving the presentation and that they'll probably get a good grade, which is why she's debating which snack to buy to thank him. Chohee is totally irritated. How could her plan have gone so wrong? At the school courtyard, Jungmin talks to Junwoo, saying that things aren't going the way he wanted. Junwoo asks what he's talking about, and he says it's about Chohee. Apparently, they talked yesterday and everything seemed fine. Jungmin was feeling better, but today he's back to feeling down again. He says that his heart starts to race even when he tries to ignore her when they see each other at school, and that since it's the first time he's felt this way, even knowing she likes someone else, maybe there's still a chance for him. Junwoo immediately shuts it down, saying he doesn't think so, that he's just imagining things, but of course Jungmin doesn't care, and says Junwoo knows nothing about love, and that since they're going on a school trip soon, he should try to get closer to her. Junwoo remembers Chohee's confession to him and advises his friend to drop this craziness and focus on his studies, because if he gets low grades, he'll lose his phone. The deluded one only replies that love is more important and that Junwoo doesn't understand because all he knows how to do is study, and he doesn't have anyone he wants to see the spring flowers with. Junwoo, not understanding the importance of seeing spring flowers, for some reason remembers Ajin being impressed with him in English class. On the other hand, it seems like someone isn't very happy with how close Junwoo and Ajin are getting. Chohee seems to be regretting doing all this for Junwoo, especially because it's not giving her any results. In fact, what she did ended up bringing the two of them even closer. The fact that Ajin doesn't listen to her about staying away from Junwoo makes her even more irritated. She's arriving home, tired from the day and with a headache, just wanting to rest. But as she opens the door, she hears an argument about divorce. It's Chohee's father who simply showed up to ask her mother for a divorce. They're arguing a lot, and Chohee can't understand why he even comes around if every time he does, they fight like this. The argument continues. It seems that Chohee's father has found another woman, which is why he wants to separate from his old family. Fed up with everything going on at school and now having to go through this again at home, she just can't take it anymore and wants to put an end to it. Her father, practically verbally assaulting her mother, says she better sign the divorce papers soon, because no matter what she wants, in the end she'll do what he wants. But Chohee decides to step in and asks if he's going to abandon the mistress too. So why does he even want the divorce? Annoyed by his daughter's interference, he simply slaps her across the face. Now we can better understand how Chohee's mind got so messed up. Chohee's mother stands up to her father and says he has no right to lay a hand on their daughter and that he should leave, that she's not giving him the divorce. He gives up and leaves, while the mother tries to comfort Chohee, but she tells her mom to just give him the divorce already because her dad isn't human. Now he even hits her. But the woman seems to be in denial and says she can't say that, because after all, he's her father. With every reason to be angry, Cho-hee ends up yelling at her mother, saying she's worse than her father for letting this situation go on like this. Cho-hee ends up locking herself in her room, wondering how she's going to change the life she's living right now. But she ends up seeing several sweets on the table that were delivered by Ajin, saying how much she loves her friend and cares about her, and that makes Cho-hee even more irritated. She knocks all the cookies onto the floor, because for her, everything works out for Ajin, but it feels like nothing is working out for Cho-hee. And clearly, she decides to turn all this anger and hatred she's been holding onto into a plan to destroy Ajin. That same night, at Junwoo's house, he's having private lessons with his tutor, but he can't stop thinking about why, at that moment with the flowers, he remembered Ajin. And that makes his tutor notice that he's distracted by something. The tutor comments that it's the first time he's seen Junwoo distracted. He brushes it off and says he was just spacing out, but the tutor pushes a little, asking if maybe he's into someone. And of course, before he can answer, he remembers once again our dear protagonist, Ajin. For the first time, we see the main character, Junwoo, blushing while thinking about her. The tutor asks him to pay more attention, but continues with the lesson. Meanwhile, at the house of the only person who has no idea all of this is happening behind the scenes, she's cooking again, making some cookies to give to her friends tomorrow on the school trip. Her parents arrive home from work and ask her not to stay up too late, because she's going to have a full day tomorrow. She says she's just finishing up the cookies for her friends and will go to sleep soon. They comment that her friends must be really lucky to receive all this love from their daughter. Her father, excited about the whole thing, ends up giving Ajin a bit of money so she can enjoy tomorrow and buy a few gifts. Back to her room, packing things for tomorrow's trip, and she decides to bring her portable charger. Looking at the two options she now has, she remembers something that happened a year ago. In the dormitory of Y University, Ajin tries to convince the other girls to stay overnight because after all, it's the first day of camp. However, they're not interested at all in spending the whole night there. They only did it for the extra credit, but it's not worth it. They also remember that Ajin got scolded in class for dozing off, and that she doesn't even care about her grades, so they should all just leave together. She then decides to accept the suggestion, since she doesn't want to stay there alone. In the dark, they're trying to sneak out quietly so the instructor won't notice, but they're caught off guard when the light turns on, and the instructor's assistant catches them sneaking out. Ajin is completely impressed by the assistant and convinces the girls to go back to the room. She blushes and thinks that, for the first time, maybe she's feeling what it's like to fall in love at first sight. Back then, she remembers not knowing how she had the courage, but she decided to talk to him and ask for his phone number. They talked almost every day, but all of that changed when he got a girlfriend. That broke our protagonist's heart, even though she knew that maybe to him she was just a student he met at a camp. And it's at that moment we realize that, in fact, the one who gave the portable charger wasn't Ajin's father. It was the first crush of her life. My bad there. She feels happy just looking at the charger and wonders how he must be doing these days. Back to the present time, we now see a scene at Y University, where her crush is surrounded by women and is being congratulated for getting a teaching internship at a school. The girls around him congratulate him and ask where he's going to do this internship. Of course, it's going to be at Soren High School. Well, after that little spoiler of what's coming in the future, we are finally at the day of the school trip. The students complain that they wish they were going to an island or somewhere farther away, and our protagonist is only worried about where her friend Cho-hee is. She calls her friend and asks to meet up because she needs to give her something before leaving. As she turns around, she finds her friend, all dressed up and even wearing crop shirt, showing that she didn't come to play on this trip. Ajin, absolutely right since they are school students, scolds her friend and says that those clothes show too much skin. Cho-hee gets mad at her and tells her to stop tugging on her clothes, that she's fine the way she is. The whole crowd stops and admires the beauty of our male protagonist. Both Ajin and Cho-hee are impressed by how handsome he is and how well he dresses. Some girls already approach him, saying he looks really good in casual clothes and asking if he's already decided who he's going to sit with on the train. Meanwhile, Junwoo's friends are already showing that they've brought alcohol to enjoy the night and invite some girls. Cho-hee immediately starts paying attention because she wants to try her best to get close to Junwoo, and the boys mention that the room where they'll invite the girls is going to be Ajin's room. She then interrupts the conversation and calls out to Jungmin. Jungmin is shocked because he didn't expect her to talk to him, and she says she doesn't want to interfere. But it sounds like their night is going to be fun, and she'd like to join. Of course, our little puppy would immediately say yes, and even think it's amazing. Everyone starts settling in on the train, finding their seats, taking pictures, enjoying the moment with friends. But Cho-hee is uncomfortable because she doesn't understand why everyone is taking so many photos even though they're just on a train. And she starts shrinking into the corner so she won't appear in any picture. She remembers that in the morning, before leaving home, her mom came to give her an envelope full of money, saying that her dad had left it for her to spend on the trip. Cho-hee gets irritated with the situation and throws the money away, saying there's no point in giving her that after everything he did. But the only thing her mother knows how to say is that she shouldn't blame her father like that. Meanwhile, in another train car, Ah-jin is feeling hot because she decided to wear a long-sleeved shirt, so she decides to call Cho-hee to go to the vending machine with her. But Cho-hee is sleeping, so she ends up going alone. When she gets there, she finds Jun-woo getting a drink. He asks if she wants anything, and she decides to get the same thing as him, a green apple drink, which she says looks really good. When she goes to grab the drink, she sees there's no more. The last one was the one Junwoo took. He, being the good protagonist he is, decides to give her the drink, saying that, actually, the one who was supposed to drink it was Young-min. But since he's sleeping, she can have it. Happily, she accepts the drink and asks if it's really okay. And since he says it is, she takes it. For a moment, he forgets he needs to answer and starts admiring her. But then, a guy bursts into the train car they're in and ends up bumping into Ah-jin, giving us yet another scene of an almost accidental kiss. Junwoo apologizes while the two are still recovering. Ah-jin feels a bit of pain in her eyes because her glasses ended up getting hit too, and Junwoo notices once again that sweet scent of green apple. She looks at him without her glasses and asks if he's okay. He quickly pushes her away, and she doesn't understand why he did that. However, this moment reminds her of the first time they met in the park, when he saved her from that crazy guy and asked her why she didn't use her legs since her hands were occupied. She also remembers when Cho-hee told her that he threw her portable charger in the trash. Without understanding, she asks why he is always mean to her. He realizes she's getting everything wrong and that she seems to think he doesn't like her. And then, on impulse, he ends up saying that he actually likes her. Oh my god. Our protagonist wasn't expecting that, and neither was I. How could he say he likes her? She can't understand anything. She's trying to do the math, but nothing adds up, and she wonders why he likes her. But before she can reach a conclusion, he starts laughing and says that her expression is really incredible right now, and that he really likes her because her reactions are always funny. Of course, she misunderstands and starts cursing at him, hitting him, furious and embarrassed, and he says that hurt. She simply says he deserved it and leaves. Junwoo calls her before she leaves, but she simply ignores him, and he can't understand why she got mad. All she can think is that it's not right. Even if he's the best student in the school, he doesn't have the right to treat her like that. She doesn't want to be treated like a toy. In tears, she remembers the day they met at the cafe and he offered her the drink she had spilled. At that moment, she thought he was a good person. The fact that he confessed to her, if it's a lie, she simply doesn't know what to do. Was he just playing with her? Or was he being serious? At the travel destination, the students get ready to take a photo. The teacher asks them to behave, not to cause trouble, and to meet again at the same spot at 6 o'clock. Everyone agrees and each heads off in different directions. Our villainess, unaware of what happened on the train, is looking for Junwoo, but she is approached by 3 guys, apparently locals, who start hitting on her. She realizes they are just playboys and tries to ignore them and keep walking, but they insist and ask if they can get her phone number while one of them puts his arm around her to hold her. She tries to say she can give them her Instagram instead of her phone number to see if he lets her go, but he insists on asking for her number, and she keeps saying she can give her Instagram ID and that he can DM her anytime and she won't ignore him. However, since there are 3 of them, she starts getting a little worried because she doesn't know if she'll be able to get out of this, and she really doesn't want to give even her Instagram. And that's when our protagonist shows up to save her best friend, shouting that the teacher told them not to talk to people who aren't from the school. She grabs Cho-hee's hand and runs. The guys don't follow, but it doesn't seem like they'll just let it go. They keep running without looking back, while Ah-jin is furious that those guys dared to do that to her friend, and without realizing that her friend will always be by her side. To lighten the mood a little, Cho-hee says that she doesn't have to speak formally about those guys because they're only a year older than them, that they're probably also on a school trip, and she starts laughing at the situation. Ah-jin is impressed that Cho-hee is so relaxed about it and says they didn't look like they were the same age and that they looked way too worn out to be in school. They laugh about it and continue with their trip. Later that night, back at the lodging, the girls from Ah-jin's room are wondering where the others who haven't arrived yet are. When Ah-jin starts questioning who they are waiting for, the door opens and there's Jung-min and his friends with a suitcase, probably filled with drinks. Of course, Cho-hee is with them, and so is our dear protagonist, Junwoo. The girls don't seem too pleased with Cho-hee's presence, and clueless Ah-jin hasn't even realized that Junwoo is there, that he only came to apologize to her because he doesn't even enjoy these types of gatherings. When she realizes he's there, she feels a little discouraged while the other girls in the room are super excited. Everyone sits down, they chat, snack on chips, and there's that awkward tension between Junwoo and Ah-jin. They start debating what game they should play, and Jung-min suggests playing Truth or Dare. However, before the game can start, they hear a commotion outside and other students start banging on the door, asking what's going on inside. The girls in the room quickly start thinking of a way to trick the people outside, and they decide that the best option is to pretend they are all sleeping. They throw blankets over some people, others run and hide in the bathroom, while someone opens the door. Ajin ends up under a blanket. The instructor opens the door and believes everyone is sleeping. Thinking that they're gone, Ajin starts feeling her neck stiffen, believing that Chohee is nervous because she's pushing her head down. She tries to ask her friend to stop pushing her neck, but someone tells her to stay quiet. Until her phone alarm goes off and the light turns on so she can finally see who is next to her. And of course, it's our protagonist, Junwoo. The two stay under the blanket, their faces way too close to each other, but they don't move and just keep looking at each other until the alarm stops ringing. And, embarrassed, they turn their faces away. Ajin's heart starts racing and she tries to think of a way to get out of there without anyone noticing what happened, and the only thing she can think at that moment is that he's probably going to push her away like he did on the train and then laugh at her, because for some reason she came to the conclusion that he actually hates her. I don't know how either. They stay quiet in the same position until someone says they're gone and the lights can be turned on. When the lights come on, Youngmin realizes he stepped on something, and when he looks, it's Ajin's glasses. Junwoo sits up and quickly pulls the blanket off of them, and she notices he seems angry. Even though she didn't want to be in that situation either, she can't understand why he looks mad if she didn't do it on purpose. But in truth, our poor protagonist is just embarrassed because he was so close to Ajin, and his original goal of coming here was only to apologize for what happened on the train, not to end up in an even more embarrassing situation. He goes to check if Ajin is okay, but when he looks at her, she's in total shock, because Youngmin stepped on her glasses and broke them. He quickly apologizes for stepping on her glasses, but nervously, he says her name wrong. Instead of saying Ajin, he says Adek, which sounds like a puppy's name. Everyone starts laughing, and he gets even more embarrassed, because not only did he say her name wrong, but he also caused all this chaos with the glasses. She says it's fine, that tomorrow she'll go to the doctor to get new glasses. And so they get back to what they were doing before, which was starting the games. The first one to pick a paper is Chohee, and her mission is to give a snack to someone she wants to get closer to. She chooses Jungmin, who's surprised because he wasn't expecting it. The boys get super jealous of Jungmin, and Ajin is impressed with how much Chohee improved in dealing with others. But actually, Chohee's plan was to make Junwoo jealous. However, he couldn't care less. In her head, that expressionless face of his actually means he's so jealous he can't even show it. To push it further, she says Jungmin is very cute to try to make him even more jealous. And poor Youngmin is thrilled, thinking everything is wonderful. Then they spin the bottle, and the next chosen ones are Ajin and Junwoo. Jungmin asks them the question, "Who is bothering you the most in this room?" Everyone gets excited waiting for the answer. And because they both think of the same answer, they stare at each other for a minute while no one else understands anything. They quickly look away, thinking that maybe they're not actually bothered. One came just to apologize, and the other doesn't want to be around someone she thinks hates her. Everyone, anxious for an answer, still doesn't get what that exchange of looks was about. They start commenting that this looks suspicious. Why did they look at each other and say nothing? And neither of them has answered the question yet. Since they took too long to respond, they have to draw a punishment slip. Ajin picks a slip that says to take a picture of the professor's room door, while Junwoo picks one that says he doesn't have to do any punishment. But since neither answered the question, both of them have to do the challenge Ajin picked. The friends already say that if they get caught, they shouldn't mention the game or come back there. Ajin looks a little worried because she'll have to do this with Junwoo, even though she's not comfortable being around him. Their friends try to encourage them, and Chohee says if Ajin doesn't want to go, she can go in her place. But Youngmin quickly cuts her off and says that's not allowed, and they're ready to go. Everyone must get back inside before someone gets caught. Ajin says goodbye to her friends and leaves. Chohee stays behind, annoyed because she couldn't switch places with Ajin. Meanwhile, people start saying how much prettier Ajin looks without glasses. But jealous Chohee can only think about how they can think that with her standing right there. Are they blind? To pull attention back to herself, she grabs someone's hand and tells them to go back inside to continue the game. Back to our two protagonists heading to the professor's room, Junwoo can only think about how he's going to bring up the conversation to apologize for what happened on the train. After all, he got this chance of being alone with her. He opens the window to show that across there's a room with a light on, which is probably the professor's room. To get there faster, it would be easier to cut through the path. Ajin can barely pay attention because the only thing she can think about is wanting to leave, because she's completely uncomfortable and it's cold. She says they should go down and cut through the garden. But before she can start walking, Junwoo calls her. He starts talking about what happened on the train. But before he can finish the sentence, a hall monitor shows up asking who's there. Before the monitor can catch them, Junwoo grabs Ajin's hand and they start running. Quickly, they slip into a room and hide behind a wall while the monitor notices the open window and closes it. The two stay still, not making a sound, barely breathing to avoid getting caught, but they stay holding hands. Junwoo is the first to break the silence, asking, "Do you think the professor already left?" And that's when Ajin realizes they're holding hands and quickly pulls hers away. Cue the usual awkward atmosphere, and he apologizes. But the monitor hears them talking and comes running back to check. Ajin starts getting nervous because if they get caught, they'll probably lose points at school. So Junwoo decides to stand up and tells her to stay there. She asks what he's going to do. As the monitor starts opening the door, Junwoo opens it first and walks out pretending to be talking on the phone. He's the best student in the school, so the monitor is actually happy to see him, thinking it might have been some troublemakers. Luckily, it's just Junwoo, and he asks what he's doing there. Our protagonist apologizes and says he was talking on the phone and knows he shouldn't have been wandering around. The monitor says it's okay, that there's no problem, and Ajin notices how differently he's treated because he's Junwoo. Still, it looks like Junwoo will get a few penalty points for being out late. The monitor asks if he saw anyone else around, and Junwoo says no, while he subtly pushes the door more closed with his foot so the monitor can't see Ajin hiding inside. She starts thinking maybe he's protecting her because if they get caught together, rumors would spread, and that wouldn't be good. Even so, she feels a little guilty because he's getting a penalty because of her, and he's the school's top student, so grades must matter a lot to him. The monitor leaves and tells him to get back to his room soon. Junwoo tells Ajin she can come out now, that the monitor is gone. She comes out looking a bit guilty, and he asks if she's okay. Maybe she's scared. But she says, no, she wasn't scared. There's nothing wrong with her expression. Actually, the only thing she's worried about is that he got a penalty because of her. He asks her not to worry about it and says they should hurry and go take the photo of the professor's room. She is surprised because she thought he had given up on everything. Since he had received a penalty point, maybe it would be better for them to go back to the room. And then he starts teasing, asking if she's afraid to continue the mission. Irritated, she replies that actually she's just worrying about him while he starts laughing at her. Not understanding why he's laughing, she asks if he thinks she's funny, that he's always teasing her, and if he doesn't like her, it would be easier just to ignore her. And here comes the awkward tension again. She wonders why he still hasn't answered anything and just stayed there silent. He simply places his hand on her head and says that even though he jokes around with her, he would never do anything to mistreat her, that he doesn't hate her, and that's why he came all the way there. He keeps walking ahead and tells her to hurry up so they won't get caught again. Is this romance finally moving forward? I sure hope our leading lady starts wising up in the next chapters, or else her totally bonkers bestie might just pull something to drive our main duo even further apart. Hope you enjoyed the story. Don't forget to hit that like button so I know you're into this kind of content, and ring the notification bell to be the first to catch my next video. Kisses, and see you next time.